Okay, so this is Ringwalk Media. We're very lucky. We're up in Leeds today with a legend of boxing, Mr. Paulie Malignaggi. How are you, sir? Very nice to see you again.
Hey, man.
Nice to see you on these shores.
Yeah, always good to be here. Always good to be in the UK. Always a good time interacting with fans, and just enjoying the time. And this time I'm back for a fight.
I know, we can't wait. Well, listen, before we get into that, you and I obviously have someone very close to us, Ricky, that's passed. His funeral was a beautiful occasion, a celebration of the People's Champion on Friday, and the people came out for him. It was a beautiful day, and of course you were you're very lucky to have shared the ring with Ricky and had a lot of conversation with him. He was a wonderful man, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a guy who, like I said, and I've said many times in the course of these weeks, and when I would hang out with him, he'd almost let you. It was almost like you'd forget that he was the person he was. You just one of the lads, and he makes fun of you. He makes fun of himself. One of the funnier guys you'll meet. And sometimes you have to sort of remind yourself, am I hanging out with this guy's the same guy that I see drawing these huge crowds in these stadiums and these big arenas and whatnot. He was such a down to earth guy, and he made you feel. Everybody around them, he can make you laugh and make you feel special, make you feel good being around them. I just wish that he could see that, everybody felt the same about him. That send off was something really unbelievable, a real tribute. You almost wish he could know that, and he could see that, and how much love there is and there was for him, and there always will be for him. There really is only one Ricky Hatton.
And I remember a couple of years ago having a conversation with Rick about his fight with you and how he enjoyed the whole build-up and the crowd. I mean, it was one of his favourite fights. That must be some comfort to know that was...
Yeah, Rick was... I fought Rick at a time where I used to try to dislike every opponent. Eventually you grow out of that. You're just like, all right, you sort of soften up and you just, whatever, it's a job. We do the job and we respect each other. But I fought Rick at a time I was in my 20s, so I disliked everybody I fought, and it was very hard. It was very hard to dislike Rick, because, I'm trying to dislike him, but he's funny, he's engaging, and then, you come to Manchester, and we were around one another a lot. Every time I'm coming to Manchester, he's giving me free football tickets to this game and that game, and I'm like, it's like, I gotta fight this guy. How am I gonna dislike this guy? I went to a Man United game in the box. I went to a Man City game in the box. It's like you're getting great seats, great games, and in the meantime, you're prepared to fight him, and you're like, I don't know how to dislike this guy. I really don't, But that was one of certainly one of the things that I'll remember most about Rick is the fact that for a period of my career I disliked everybody I fought, but man, it was really tough to dislike him, even when I was fighting him.
Well, we know that because we were with you a few weeks ago, of course, in the car, and you were over here doing some training, looking for some sparring, and he offered you his gym, of course.
Yes. That's the kind of guy he was, man. Give you the shirt off his back, man. And that's, again, there's one thing that I regret. It's like I probably didn't reach out enough in my mind, like I was in the UK so many times after our fight, because we had a fight, and for that time, for an 18-month period, there was a lot. We were swirling around each other, and we were a lot around each other for that 18-month period. And then afterwards, it sort of dissipated, and I was around him a bit, in my commentating. I'd see him, and sometimes we even did some commentating together when Boxer first came out, and I'd see him here and there, even talk to him on the phone, but I didn't reach out as much as maybe I could have, because I'm thinking it's Ricky Hatton. He's famous. He's got so much going on. He's always busy. He's going to be too busy for me, And it's like, now you look back and you're like, maybe I could have reached out a little more. Maybe I could have, we could all reach out to our friends a bit more, I guess, and it's, I guess that's sort of the learning lesson that I took from that, because, when we spoke in the months before, like you were talking about, when I was here with you, and Rick was, like I said, to give you the shirt off his back. Oh, you're here? I got to get to Dubai real quick. He was getting ready to, sign that fight. But he said, you know what? The gym is yours, man. He even offered to close it private if I needed to, train privately and whatnot, Just that's the kind of guy he was, man. It's like you would never think it's this guy is the same celebrity as like a Hollywood icon in England. In England, then you can see the kind of tribute that he got. In England, he's the same status as royalty. Yet you hang with him and you talk with him, and it's just he's completely normal, man. Completely normal. You're like thinking like, is that the same guy? It is the same guy, man. That's the kind of guy he was.
Well, we're very lucky that the family and his manager Paul Speak, they've founded the Hatton Foundation. It's going to help boxers in the future for exactly those things, and we want to give them as much exposure as possible. And everybody should jump on this and help the foundation, right? Yeah,
absolutely, man. Absolutely. This is if there's anything we learned from Rick's experience and Rick's life, it's at least we can honor him in that way, and I think he would have wanted this, and he would have loved this.
He would indeed, and he would also love the fact that you're boxing in Leeds, bare knuckle, 47, BKB, Tyler Goodjohn, a pioneer of his own sport, and you're going in the ring with him, you crazy man.
Yeah, because if I'm gonna do something, I want to do it the right way. I didn't want to. I suppose I could have took on an easier foe, but I said, if I do something, I want to achieve something for it. It's not just money. Obviously, yes. People say, "Oh, you're doing it for money." Yeah, of course, you do it for money. You don't do it for free. But if money's the only motivation, it just doesn't get my motivation. It doesn't get me motivated enough. Doesn't give me. I've got to feel that sense of danger, that sense of accomplishment if I do win. Like if I fight a guy who's a no-hoper, it's not a sense of accomplishment when I win. So it's like. I need to feel the risk. And yeah, sure, put yourself at risk. You could also lose, right? So people do think, oh, it's crazy. You take on a guy like Tyler. But, I felt like Tyler was a worthy guy because he's a guy who's done a lot for the sport. And I feel like he's a guy, not only has done a lot for the sport, but it probably hasn't gotten the credit he deserves for doing what he's done for the sport, because this sport is now in an ascending phase. Yeah. And Tyler has been one of the pioneers of it. So I felt like he fit the bill perfectly, and that's why we chose him. We said, I think he's a guy, because he's promotable, he's got a reputation, and he can still fight. So, and he's an ex-champion, of course. It is a bit of a risk, I admit, but then again, that's the way I've always been. I've always chased. I've never chased the easier fights. I've always chased the tougher ones.
Well, we've been lucky to see you a little bit in camp, and you are taking this very seriously. The training's been immense. Yeah, the training's been very good. We've adjusted a lot in terms of the way I used to train. Was I used these long, dragged out workouts that would really drag out of me, and this time they've been shorter but faster bursts. Several times a day, but short, fast bursts. And each workout has that sort of that feel to it. So you're working hard, but you're working in short bursts. And then you're resting in between, and you're working in short bursts again. So, rest is like food when you're in camp, It's like, and we focus a lot on rest. It's funny because when I first retired, I didn't want to sleep. Because I'm like, man, I always focus so much on resting in camp that, I feel like I'm missing so much time. I don't want to sleep. I walk around like a zombie sometimes. You don't sleep when you should. But it's been good to sort of go have that sort of focus on that rest again in between these workouts, because you need it. Otherwise, you won't get the best of yourself. You won't get the sharpness out of yourself, and you won't be able to push the way you want to push. Especially, like I said, the way I've been training for this fight, it's been shorter bursts, but they've been bursts. So you need that energy for those bursts, and I think that's the kind of fight it is. That's what bare knuckle is, right? It's a short burst, and so you want to acclimate your body to that kind of thing. So if you come through this fight, I know a little bit about you, and I know that you've got that desire to do well in everything you want. Are you going to push on for top honors?
It's something that is one part of the reason I did this, right? I said top honors is a world championship. Can I really achieve that in boxing? Don't get me wrong. I may still be able to make the welterweight division, and the welterweight division is absolute garbage in pro boxing right now. We just saw Pacquiao almost beat Mario Barrios. I think I could beat Mario Barrios right now myself, especially though after camp, the way I feel. So could I push down to 147 pounds? I think I may be able to push down to 147 pounds. Honestly, I have not had a lot of trouble with the weight cut to 154. So I may be able to still make 147 pounds. But in bare knuckle, in BKB, I think the goal is to win a championship there. That's sort of why I picked that. I decided at BKB, it's 5-round fights. Again, it's these short bursts, but I think I still have the ability to fight. It's a matter of, I don't want to overlook Good John. There's definitely no gimme. But if everything goes good, I think I'd be interested either one or the other. I may be interested even in 147 pounds, but we'll see. We'll see, because I don't want to look past Good John first. This camp has been mainly focused on me. It hasn't been focused on a person or anything. It's been mainly focused on me getting the best of myself every single day. And that's a winning battle every single day, is getting the best of myself. And if every day I do the best of myself, then I won for that day. And I take that confidence into the next day. And I won for that day and take that confidence to the next day. And that's sort of the approach I've had for this training camp. It hasn't really been about focusing a lot on the opponent, Initially, we obviously when he was announced and everything, we had a look at him.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's just about me. It's going to continue to be about me. Now, in the last days, of course, Good John, we'll see him at a press conference, and of course, it'll be about the fight and the matchup, of course, and it'll be about Tyler as well. But it's been heavily focused just on myself, getting the best of myself, getting the sharpness there, getting the acceleration there, the speed there, and all this other stuff there that we need, both in terms of the game plan and in terms of the fight.
How many rounds are you doing with him?
5 3-minute rounds is the schedule.
So it's 5 3-minute rounds.
Yeah.
So going from boxing sort of 10, 12 rounds down to 5, that would suggest that probably your fitness is going to be tip-top all the way through those 5.
Yeah, like I said, it's a different kind of training, I think, and that's what we've applied. You got to train smarter, not harder, but you've also got to train differently. And so this is sort of going back to the amateurs, these short bursts, but a little bit different because it's still bare knuckle. And you can't just throw crazy hands in the bare knuckle. Or your hands are going to hurt, right? So
it's going to hurt full stop, isn't it?
Yeah. So you gotta be busy. It is a pace, but at the same time, you gotta be smart the way you do things, the way you throw things. But absolutely, your conditioning has to be there because it is a burst, And I've seen Tyler; he likes to bring a good pace. So we'll be fun.
It's going to be a good scrap by the sounds of it, mate.
Yeah.
And of course, a big arena as well. It's going to be a great atmosphere.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not familiar with Leeds and the Ice Palace and anything else. I'm really not familiar.
It's a great place.
Initially we were scheduled in Bristol, I think, and it was they told me the arena was bigger there, and they were sort of disappointed when I had pulled out with the injury because the arena was bigger there. And I said, hey man, I mean, it's either that or nothing, So we wound up in the Leeds showing, and I think it's good to still be able to be in the UK. I always enjoyed being in the UK. I always enjoyed going back and forth with the banter with the fans in the UK and the support. I started getting more and more. It's funny because as my career went forward, I started getting a lot more support in the UK. The UK fans really started taking to me, I started out as public enemy number one, from the amateurs all the way to fighting Ricky, to fighting Amir, to fighting, by the time I fought Eggington, there was Paulie chants in the arena, in the O2 arena, So, a lot of the UK fans had taken to me, I've been away. I don't know, to what degree I may have turned some people off with my punditry, because sometimes, I'm very opinionated, so we'll see where, if I've gained or lost fans on fight night, but certainly I expect Good John to have the more support in the crowd. But either way, I like a lively crowd, and that's why I enjoy fighting in the UK. The UK fans, I've always said, are the best fans in the world, liveliest, and great, always great to fight here.
I think they'll be looking forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, one way or the other. Yeah,
there's certainly going to be some chants and some singing. That's for sure. I'll tell you what, something just popped into my head. You're talking about, you wanting to do well and maybe going up in there. But what about Misfits? That would be a cracking place for you.
Yeah, we've had some preliminary talks to Misfits as well. There's because, I can't really fight for a world championship, right? I again, not say never, because 147 pounds could be a possibility. It's that weak, but only because it's that weak. I don't think Manny Pacquiao would have come back to fight against Barrios unless he saw a very weak division himself, and I kind of see it that way too. So don't get me wrong, it is a weird time in the welterweight division, but Misfits is more realistic when it comes to glove boxing, because they take fights that people would want to see, maybe thinking a bit outside the box, and really do well with him. A lot of popularity with what Misfits is doing, and it's growing in popularity, and it gains people's curiosity. And I was actually talking to Carl Frock earlier today, and he was talking about fighting Darren Till of Misfits. So he was getting some interest. And with me, there's still the possible grudge match with Lobov in a rematch in Misfits.
I would love to see that.
Or even we could do that in BKB too. I mean, there's different options even with Lobov, and then some other things. things. I mean, there's obviously different scenarios where Misfits might play a bill. You know, who knows? Maybe a rematch with Adrian Broner. That's something Misfits would be interested in. I don't think mainstream boxing would be interested in that anymore, but I think a lot of people would still be interested in that. So I think Misfits does a good job of grabbing the fights that maybe mainstream boxing may not grab, but yet a lot of fans outside and inside boxing would still be curious about it. And the ones I just mentioned, I think, are examples of that, as well as some other possibilities. So, yeah, under my deal with BKB, I am allowed to, go off and branch off into glove boxing if I want to. I hadn't initially thought of it, but then these talks started popping up. So there is certainly a possibility. I'll say that.
That's brilliant. I'd love to see that fight, especially against Lobov. That would be the grudge match of all grudge matches. That could be a very lively.
I'll say, right.
A lively week, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'll say. It was the first time around, and there's always that possibility because I think people would still want to see the unfinished business, so to speak. I certainly think the first fight was controversial. There was a broken hand. I still think I won the fight. I didn't get the decision somehow, and MMA fans are always too stupid to understand the difference of what they were watching. So it's funny because usually if I get banter from fans, if I get it from my boxing losses, I'll get a banter for the Juan Diaz loss or the Broner loss. There's always intelligent enough boxing fans to say, yeah, but Paulie won that fight. There's always a retort that I don't have to retort. It's always in there. But I notice when it comes to MMA fans, when somebody says Lobov beat you, there is no response to hey, that was a robbery.
Yeah.
They're in unison, all that stupid. It's amazing. Like you cannot get dumber than the MMA fan. Because like I said, in boxing, when there's a robbery and I'm giving banter about one of the fights I got robbed, boxing fans themselves will jump in and say, yeah, but in fairness, Paulie was robbed there. That Lobov fight, it always amazes me when it gets brought up in a message board, or it gets brought up even on my Instagram. I'll look, I'll say, let me see the responses. They are all in unison. They don't get smarter. They only get dumber in that fan base. And it's quite as amazing. But yet, it's like, you ever seen the movie Forrest Gump?
Yeah, of course.
So you remember when Forrest is playing American football, and he's so fast, and he gets the ball, and he runs, and he's running the wrong way, and they got to tell him run the other way, and they got to run, and then he runs the opposite way, and he scores a touchdown, and they say, "And he got to be the stupidest son of a bitch alive, but he sure is fast." Well, that's MMA fans. These MMA fans, the stupidest son of a bitch is alive, but they sure are passionate.
What a brilliant end, honestly, Paulie. I can't wait for you to get in the ring on Saturday nights. So good to see you on these shores, and I can assure you, the British fans love you. You've been in with our man, and it was all good humour at the end, and you've become one of us. So we're very welcome to have you here.
There was a time in my life, and Ricky's a big part to thank for this, is where I was bigger in the UK than I was in the US. Wow. It was real, and Rick is a big reason for that. Obviously, I had been in the UK before when I fought in the amateurs a couple of times with the USA team. Then I fought Rick, I fought Amir, I fought Sam Egginton, and now I'm fighting here. But I always have a history with the UK. But there was a moment in time where, bro, it's fascinating that I was more famous in the UK than I was in any other country in the world. It really wasn't impressive. But I mean, not with myself, with the fan base. I was impressed with the fan base. Like, wow, these people really took to me this way. It's something I'll never forget. It's a part of my life I'll never forget.
Well, we'll never forget either. Saturday night, what time are the doors opening?
I don't know. They want the fighters. I got to notice that they want the fighters there at 3:30. But I assume the doors open maybe a couple hours after that.
Yeah, so maybe 5 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah.
Can the guys still get some tickets to come and see you guys?
Yeah, I believe so.
So BKB Instagram or website.
Yeah, BKB Instagram website. BKB47 Leeds Brawl.
So if you're not doing it Saturday night, come up to Leeds. Come and see Paulie.
Yeah.
And
the live TV will be on TalkSport here in the UK. In the US, it's on Vice TV. In the UK, it's on TalkSport. But if you can get there live, I think these shows are good action. All bare knuckle fighting is pretty good action. There's no feel outs in bare knuckle. There's fights.
We can't wait, mate. We can't wait. Paulie, as always, an absolute pleasure to be in your company. God bless to you. Good luck on Saturday night, and we hope that we see you in some sort of ring again very, very soon.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you, mate.